our baseball special podcast. We talked baseball maybe 9 minutes, but I enjoyed it yesterday. I'll run through some thoughts on a packed baseball week. We got Chris Fallica, a.k.a. The Bear, from Fox Sports. The guy's locked into college football. We talk about the matchups this weekend. Also just, kind of run through the contenders, some of the stuff that we're seeing. Just a really good football conversation, college football conversation, including the preposterous stadium ranking that Fox Sports put out that I think needs to be addressed. And we've got a little spicy life advice for you, too, including how far can you go with a teammate? This is the Ryen Russillo podcast presented by FanDuel. And if you're betting on the NFL, FanDuel is the place to do it. They've got everything. Same game parlays, quick bets for when you want to jump in live and your way so you can set your own lines. The app's fast. It's easy to use. And best of all, when you win, you get paid out instantly. Download the FanDuel app or go to FanDuel.com/Ryen, R-Y-E-N, to get started. The Ringer is committed to responsible gaming. Please visit rg-help.com to learn more about the resources and helplines available and listen to the end of the episode for additional details. Must be 21 plus and present in select states, 18 plus in D.C., Kentucky, and Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. Baseball rise back. Let's play 4. A lot of baseball at the house yesterday. Loved it. It felt good to care again. Sox, Yanks, down to the last hitter. I'm going to go over a couple things. Very few things, because I'm a fair weather fan now. And I got to tell you, this is easy. This is way easier. Becoming the thing I always despised. Just, now I get it. You're like, how can the ratings go up? So people won't watch all season long, and then the team's in the playoffs, and then everybody just watches that? What's wrong with people? Now, when it comes to baseball, I'm one of those people. And I'm going to say, I kind of get it now. This is way more efficient if you have other things going on. If you don't have other things going on, like I kind of had for a good stretch of my life when I was younger, but like music, like a band that somebody likes a little bit too much, what are you really doing in your youth? You're probably just exploring something that matters so that you can identify with something. So all of a sudden you're like, hey, this is my favorite band. I'm going to take it way too seriously. And I'm going to dress like them. And I'm going to argue about them. And I'm going to go on message boards and do all these different things. I mean, it's the same thing kind of with baseball, really. I mean, we could say it's football, but you're not making the same investment. 16 fucking games, 17 now. Ooh. 162, dog. But yeah, I can't do it anymore. So I just plopped down on the couch yesterday and was like, let's go Sox. Yeah. So I don't like that I'm admitting it. I'm just admitting it to you. So the cool thing too is you just start firing off opinions. Like, I guess this is what people do, right? Like, I don't have a ton of reference, not a ton of data points. I haven't put the hundreds of hours in. I'm just going to have like, hey, Max Fried, shouldn't have taken him out. This is easy, man. How many pitches do you have? I don't care. And aside on pitch count stuff, there was a long time ago where we never cared about pitch count. And then once we started to care about pitch count, then all the pitchers are going to be healthy. And then that didn't really happen. And then we understand that, like, it was funny because I was like, let me start looking up stuff. I don't know if fair weather guys do that, but I did it. I was like, where are Fried, where are Crochet on pitch count? Number 1 in baseball and number 3 in baseball. And the Yankees number 2 starters, number 2 in game 2 against the Sox. So these guys, Crochet, I think, was like 93.5 pitches per start, number 1 in all of baseball. So you're watching that. And then also understanding the stress, the playoff stress of a pitch as opposed to maybe a Pirates game in May. But it's fun to not, I guess, again, this is kind of how the world works. Even though there's like a couple little lanes that I feel pretty educated in, baseball is no longer really one of them. And I guess because I have a show or a passion for the sport, which was rekindled again, is always rekindled around this year because I just love this product so much. I love the playoff product. But to then sit here and say, well, Cleveland needs to do this. Are you actually going to listen to me if I say Cleveland needs to do this? Hot start. Terrible history. Hot start. What? Last 22 games? 45 runs allowed. I looked that up today. I could share it and say their pitching has been immaculate. And that's going to be a tough matchup. And then you have Skubal in game 1. So Last night's game, the one I was paying the most attention to, great job with the Cubs. I can mention teams, Dodgers bullpen, concerning, whatever. Reds don't really have much of a chance. And this one, staying alive, just going, I'll check out Ohtani leading off. Gone. No problem. I saw some Ohtani criticism earlier this season where it was like, because he pitched a couple good innings once, everybody's turning this guy to Babe Ruth. It's like, that seems a little unfair. Those are just Dodgers haters saying that kind of stuff. And then you see how he closes the season to pitch. And then also on his way to winning another MVP. So at least last night at Yankee Stadium, I don't know if they still call it the Boogie Down, but that's what they used to call it. Sox up 3-1. Chapman's in. Chapman's own history with the Yankees. The history between these two teams that has shifted in a way that would disrupt a planet's access going back to 2004. Chapman in. They're up 3-1. Bases loaded, no outs. And I was like, this is starting to feel like a good chunk of my 20s all over again. Except it didn't. Like that scenario, pre-2004 for me, just dread. Like already standing up, already know that tomorrow's going to be brutal. I'm still going to be mad Thursday. There's no way they're going to close this out. It's the Yankees, it's the Sox. But again, it's this weird feeling the last 20 years. You're like, I don't know. Maybe they'll get out of this. And Chapman got out of it. Bases loaded, no outs, up 3-1. Gets out of the whole thing. You know what I love about baseball? I love caring about the difference between what a pitcher's going to do 1-2 versus 2-1. And if you care about the outcome of the game when it's 1-1 and you're like, I need this to be a strike. I need this so bad right now because then it opens up the rest of the palette. 2-1, I don't really know if I like this matchup all that much. Depending on who the pitcher is, you're like, this guy at 2-1, like he's just serving it up right here. The great ones can still pitch to their will when they're behind in the count, right? As opposed to so many of the guys that are out there, even in the major leagues, it's a 2-1. It's like, I have to give in. Well, Chapman is not going to give in. Gets through the next two hitters, and I'm watching his matchup with Jazz Chisholm, who has a million shirts at his Yankee Stadium locker. I don't know if you saw any of that post game. He didn't start. They were like, how's that work? He didn't turn around. He was pretending he was organizing his shirts because he didn't really want to get into why he wasn't starting after having a monster home run season for Jazz. But Jazz is sitting there at 2-1. Chapman throws a 2-2 slider that's just perfect, right? And we had seen in the previous at-bat with Stanton where it was 0-2, 3 pitches 0-2 with a foul ball in there, where he'd thrown 100, 101 to Stanton, sped him up, throws him a splitter at 89. Stanton is just out in front of it because all he's seen is gas. And I'm like, that's the beauty of these matchups. That's what I love about this sport. Is like, look, you're 0-2, you can throw a splitter and you can throw it in the dirt. Although you do have the bases loaded, you're a little bit more worried about that kind of stuff. But you can try to waste one. And he doesn't even waste one. It was right down the middle of the plate. And there's probably no way Stanton's going to make that adjustment there because now you're down 0-2, you fouled one off, it's 100 miles an hour, and you're like, can I actually plan? Can I look for something here? I thought the broadcast did a good job in talking about Chapman and some of the struggles in the ninth because he had to get that extra out in the eighth, but now he's throwing 95. And you're like, well, where's the 100? And they're like, you know what? Usually this guy's all lathered up. A lot of perspiration on him. Where's the perspiration? Well, after some base runners got on, he started gearing it back up. And so that brings us back to the Chisholm at bat. So he's sitting there and he throws a slider to Chisholm that Chisholm looks at after throwing him gas to start the at-bat. And I'm like, would he go back-to-back slider? Because it kind of froze him. And that's just what I love about the sport, is you're playing these little games at home, and you're like, I wonder if he'd go back-to-back slider here. Like, it wouldn't be the worst idea, because he's probably thinking he's going to go back to the gas. And now you start doing the Princess Bride deal. And it's like, yeah, but it's Chapman. And now if he's hitting 100 like he just did against Stanton, like, it's just get it inside on Chisholm and try to blow him away. 101. And that's exactly what he does. My favorite moment from the night, Crochet walking off the mound. So he gives up back-to-back singles to start the game. You're like, hey, this isn't supposed to happen. Not with the season that this guy just had. Gives up those back-to-back singles, retires 17 straight at one point. He did give up kind of like a Chili Davis, Pedro 17 strikeout night home run to Volpe, although Chile kind of guessed wrong and got his bat around. Volpe just put a great opposite field swing on this thing. Somebody who apparently is just getting worse every year with the Yankees. I just see people bitch about him all the time. But again, it doesn't look like he's been very good this year. So like, is this going to happen? Again, this is kind of like a 90s thing. Because then Volpe had a hit a little bit later that reminded me like of a Jeter double down the right field line off of Pedro. Where like he didn't even come close to making good contact. And you're like, of course. Again, this is pre-04 stuff where you're like, fucking figures Jeter would hit this huge double that he barely hits and it would go down the line. And now like, I mean, look, I don't hate Jeter anymore. I don't even really know him, but you understand the point. So Crochet comes off the mound. He's done his job. Just a hoss of a dude. Big, looping, left-hand delivery where it feels like you're helpless. And he also, when he's like behind in the count, you want to talk about not giving in? Like he's kind of thinking, almost you can see it like with the batters. Like, I know it's 3-1, but do you actually think you're getting on? Because you're not. Like now I'm going to go back to work here. And the way he walked off of that mound and looked up at the fans in Yankee Stadium, like, and he's feeling himself in that moment. I mean, it was like Russell Crowe gladiator type shit up until, obviously the final scene there. So I even got pissed at Abreu in right field when he cut off Rafaela, where I'm like, what are you doing? Because Volpe's at second. And I'm like, pre-2004, they hit into each other, obviously. Volpe comes around. Maybe it's even inside the Parker because you'd have a collision there with your center fielder and right fielder. And I was psyched. I mean, I hadn't got mad at not deferring to the center fielder calling you off in months. And here I was being like, how? I know it's loud in there, but give me, like, think about the ground you're covering. And yeah, did Abreu's Gold Glove history matter to me in that moment? No, it didn't. So all those things happened last night. It was a lot of fun. So I'll be a little bit more locked in being more than 0% locked in, it will be more locked in. So even at 1%, it's an improvement for me. So we'll talk a little baseball here for the baseball fans of the podcast. And it was just, look, I'm never going to hate the Yankees as much as I did. I probably hate Sweet Caroline now, the song and the association. I don't hate Neil Diamond at all. Do not think I said that. I hate that song and the association of Dr. Weirdo time making that become some staple that's like 20 years old. None of us that grew up with this shit like that song, for the record. The Ryen Russillo podcast is brought to you by FanDuel, and FanDuel's keeping the energy up with their $2 million jackpot every Thursday game of the NFL season. Here's how it works. Opt in and place an anytime touchdown scorer bet on that night's NFL game using your profit boost. If your player scores on the first or last touchdown of the game, you'll earn a share of $2 million in bonus bets. So let's take a look at the board. So if we go anytime, like some of the payouts on the obvious anytime ones, you're just like, okay, this isn't really worth it. Is it worth it to go plus 100 Puka Nacua considering the targets? Probably. Last touchdown play, plus 750. Tough division game here. Ricky Pearsall, questionable. Anytime touchdown, plus 190. Blake Corum, anytime touchdown, he is plus 290. If you look at the attempts, he wasn't very good against the Colts, but the attempts have ramped up in the last couple of weeks here. One of the other things I was looking at, targets, which is pretty crazy on some of the receivers. Some of the receiving numbers. Pearsall right now is 4th in the NFL in yards. So I don't know if you knew that. But targets, I don't even know if he's top 30. He is now. He's 27th in targets. So the problem is we're dealing with questionable injury, questionable status because of the knee injury. But the targets against Arizona, 11 targets there. That's the 117. People loved him in camp. He hasn't hit for a touchdown yet, though. So if he's healthy, let's say this. Let's go Blake Corum anytime plus 290. And let's also live a little dangerously here. God, it seems pretty stupid to give out Pearsall plus 950 as opposed to Nacua plus 750 for the last touchdown. Who'll be up. The Rams are up. Probably not throwing it to Nacua. All right, let's go back to Pearsall. Plus 950 for the last touchdown. So a little safer with a 3-1 payout almost, and one that's not safe at all. Head to FanDuel.com/Ryen, R-Y-E-N, to download the app and get started. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and older in present select states, or 18 plus in present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in required. Must apply profit boost token on select market. Prize pool to be split equally among all eligible participants who made the correct first or last TD pick. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 21 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. This episode is brought to you by the all-new 2025 Lincoln Navigator SUV. Lincoln's original SUV is back and better than ever with a bold new design and elevated features throughout. Experience 3 rows of comfort and tech, from the multi-sensory Lincoln Rejuvenate to available massaging seats. Explore more at Lincoln.com. Some models, trims, and features may not be available or may be subject to change. Check with your local retailer for current information. Lincoln and Navigator are trademarks of Ford or its affiliates. Good to catch up with a guy I spent a lot of time on the road with from Fox Sports and Big Noon Kickoff and Bear Bets on FS1. It's Chris Fallica, the Bear. What's up, man?
Not much. Fun September. Now we're off and running in October. A couple of upsets last week, kind of reshaped some things, and might be a couple more this week. We're good.
We're going to ask you for a winner, of course, at the end of this. Although we may retire it after our only attempt this year, going 3-0 and being a winner on that side of it for you. So, look, you're a Miami guy, first and foremost. So, the discussion about where this program is an annual thing. Although I don't think it's specific to Miami. It's kind of a general thing with college football. There's fan bases all over the country that are like, yeah, but we'll probably end up losing a game. You're like, yeah, you probably will end up losing a game. But with Miami, because there were questions about the turnover at receiver, defensively being a letdown last year, really being the issue with them and their losses, and still a Syracuse loss that I still don't quite understand as you shake your head in agreement. What do you see from this team as far as like looking at them as a real title contender?
I think you look at the trenches, and that's where, while we talk about receiver and things like that, defense, secondary, some issues that they had, I think we maybe lost like the shiny object over here. We lost kind of the fact that they really built this program on the offense, defensive lines, and now you've seen what they did in the offseason, revamping that secondary. You got a Malachi Tony. C.J. Daniels is realizing his potential. Keelan Marion, the transfer from BYU, they really went hard into the portal to shore up those areas on the outside, and knowing that you've got a great offensive line, a great defensive line, 3 legitimate running backs, and I think they feel really good. And that's when you look at nationally, how many teams can really match up in the trenches with them? Oregon probably, Ohio State probably. Outside of that, I don't know who else in the trenches in terms of the contenders can really match up with them on both sides of the ball.
So are you ruling Texas out of the contender list?
I worry about Texas's offensive line, and I worry about their skill guys on the offensive side of the ball, obviously. I think this is a massive game this week for Arch. We saw the one real team that they played was a game at Ohio State, season opener. Of course, you're going to struggle, and they did. I really don't care what you did against San Jose State, San Houston State, and UTEP. That means nothing to me. Going on the road against the Florida defense, which if they haven't licked the stamp on the season, that's going to be a big problem for them. I was talking to a couple guys down there at Texas, and they're like, this is a pretty big game for Arch. This is going to tell us a lot. So I'm not even sure if they're sure what way this is going to go. So obviously you've got the game against Georgia on the road as well. You've got the game against A&M. Like, it's not too crazy to be sitting here and saying that Texas could be 9-3 and maybe on the outside looking into the playoff.
Yeah, that 6.5 is telling you a lot for that Florida game. As soon as you saw that line, you're like, all right, that kind of makes sense, but it just feels like a reluctance where there'll be lines early in a season where I'll go, oh man, Vegas must just love this team, because there's so much assuming going on at the beginning of the season. But when I saw that 6.5, it's like, okay, look, Florida was still in the fight against Miami, which is kind of the sneaky secret of the story of that game. Beck throws the pick, and it's like they're down 13-7 and still have a chance, despite, again, a football game looking like it's pretty much dominated by one side of it. But yeah, that 6.5, I think, tells you uncertainty of Texas and who they are. And then Napier getting that team to respond late last season and thinking maybe this is not a group that's going to give up. I think that transitions well into Penn State because it's easy to just dump on Penn State, the history, Franklin, Aller. I mean, they've given us plenty of evidence to dump on them. But after that Oregon loss, like how do you view them the rest of the way? Because I'm like not turning the page on them at all.
No, they are what I've thought they are. Like this is what they've been. Like it's funny. Like people thought last year, oh, they got to the semifinal and they changed the narrative. Did they really? They beat Boise State and SMU. That's not changing the narrative. They lost to Notre Dame, and then this year people were expecting now. Oh, Penn State's. I love this week hearing, oh, Penn State was my number one team entering this season, and wow, I'm really surprised at their lack of progression in the passing game. Really? Well, have you been watching them the last couple of years? This is who they've been. Now, look, there are probably, 120 teams out there in the country that would trade places with Penn State in a heartbeat. The question I have now, though, is that Indiana game looks far from a layup at home, and that comes on the heels of the game in Columbus, where if you can't beat Oregon on your home field, whiteout, Dante Moore making a road start, like what leads you to believe you can go to Columbus and win when you didn't score an offensive touchdown on them last year? So it's like, again, talked about it with Texas. Like there is a path here where maybe Penn State finishes 9-3, and they might be either on the bubble or on the outside looking in. But look, I still think that Penn State defense is really good, despite doing nothing offensively and being thoroughly outplayed for 50 minutes. Game was tied. They had to lead in overtime, just couldn't get a stop to ultimately win the game. So, yeah, I am not turning the page on them completely as a college football contender. Do I think they can get to the playoff? Yes. Do I think they can win the title? No, because, again, I don't think they can rip off 3 straight wins against the type of teams that they haven't beaten in years under Franklin, certainly with Aller at quarterback.
I know we shouldn't spend too much time in the AP voting, but it does tell you trends. And then I do think it gets into influencing the committee there a little bit, because it felt like how do you keep Penn State ahead of some of the other teams that had big wins? And you can still like Penn State a lot, but we keep talking about, hopefully the committee taking this approach of like, hey, maybe we like a 10-2 team better than an 11-1, or maybe we like a 9-3 team better than a 10-2. And I just think human nature has told us time and time again, people can't really do that. AP voters have a very hard time with it. But I mean, Ohio State, whatever you want to say about Texas, at least they have that pelt. And prior to the Oregon game, I'm like, so how, like the coaches poll is even a bigger waste of time.
Yeah.
But, you're sitting there looking at like what Miami had done, and certainly like a lot of the LSU Clemson stuff prior to the Ole Miss loss, a lot of similarities there. Yes. And that like, hey, Clemson's not really the same team. Texas is obviously better than Clemson. So you get to the point here. But there was this kind of benefit of the doubt that Penn State was getting that usually is reserved for like an Ohio State or an Alabama with a recent national championship, or at least appearance.
Yeah, it really was. And I think that's the struggle with the rankings. We've heard Rich Clark and the playoff committee talk about how we're going to take into strength of record and wins and strength of schedule into effect. Until they do it, I'm not going to believe it. I think we're still going to see the one-loss record really ultimately matter. And that's even the trouble this week in ranking teams. I put out an irrelevant top 10 that everybody gets up in arms in about. And like, how do you handle the Alabama situation? Like the Alabama team that went to Florida State week 1 without their top 2 running backs, without the best defensive player, and Simpson's first road start, completely different team than the team we saw last week on the field at Athens with all those guys back and Simpson getting a little bit of experience. I think Alabama has the potential to be the best team in the SEC. I think maybe they are right now, but again, it's funny because you look at the SEC and you look at the Big Ten. Like I think Oregon and Ohio State are probably the 2 best teams in terms of winning the title, but the depth of the SEC is probably better, even though they don't have that alpha like an Ohio State or like an Oregon. It's funny because we were kicking around something. I'd like to get your thought on it too. I love coming on other people's shows and asking them questions. Like in terms of like trust factor at quarterback, it doesn't feel like a lot of these teams really trust their quarterback. Like you see Arch at Texas, you see Aller at Penn State, you see Ohio State with Sayin on the road. Like in the Texas game, he's averaging like 5 yards an air attempt. It seems like a lot of these teams haven't really let. Lagway had 60 yards passing against Miami. Like a lot of these teams haven't really let their quarterbacks go out and do the things that they need to do to win games. Like they're really playing it close to the vest and almost thinking about having other teams make mistakes and winning games with your defense.
Yeah, this is my thing all summer. And, Danny and I talked about it, and I think there was another guest we touched on it. It's like if you looked at the preseason top 8 in the AP, 6 had total question marks at quarterback, right? And so, like, let's start with Ohio State, because I completely understand them being number one. If I were an AP voter, I'd probably go Oregon or Miami. I think that's a coin toss discussion. You probably, if you really want to get into the schedule stuff, and, Oregon was another one of those question mark things. I wasn't sure about Dante Moore. The UCLA thing wasn't that great. I went to one of the high school camps, and it didn't feel like they were talking him up the same way they were talking up some of the other guys, which is usually like this little seed that gets planted in my head because how accurate the high school guys are with the Elite 11 and the camps over the summer. And, to go into Penn State to win that game, to win the game in overtime after blowing lead and the whole thing like that's probably something I'd put down for Oregon. And now that I've watched them a few weeks, like they're just loaded with all of these offensive options again. Defensively, I don't think they're Ohio State necessarily. But yeah, that's what I would do, but it doesn't really matter. But back to Sayin, I think is 6th in quarterback rating in college football. But that defense might be that filthy. I mean, Washington has scored 168 points, I think, combined in the 3 games, and they score 6 at home. Right. I think that's what Ohio State, it almost feels like Jim Tressel all over again. So Ohio State may not need to trust Sayin, right?
Hey, I'm sure they'd love that.
But I don't know that it's going to matter where, like, I'll use another example, like another team that if you're talking about the best teams in the SEC, like A&M with that Notre Dame win, they're what, 6th? It's really funny looking at the polls, by the way. Georgia is still ahead of Alabama in the coaches poll. A&M's got you kind of knew that was going to be like a dicey. Auburn's just going to be annoying for everybody all year long. I think when you watch Auburn,
might be really bad. Wow.
Yeah, but I think based on the 3 Auburn games that I've watched this year, it just feels like they're not going to have a great record this year, but you can't just roll in against them thinking that it's going to be easy. And I'm taking way too long to kind of come full circle on this whole thing.
Right.
But I know. But on the trust part of it, Fallica, like that goal line possession with Marcel Reed and A&M and the 4th down throw to his tight end, which was just throw it to him and maybe he'll make the play on it. It's going to be very hard for me to look at A&M at that quarterback spot and say, yeah, pencil me in for that the rest of the season. Like, I think they can win the SEC. I think they're a national championship contender, despite being undefeated, having that great road win and being 6th in the country today. So, yeah, I'm in complete agreement with you. And now with a month of games here, we can tell kind of who trusts who. I mean, go ahead, jump in. I'm going too long here because I do have an Aller thought in Penn State to follow up on.
No, it's funny because you look at A&M and like you wonder, like you got road games at LSU, you got road games at Missouri, you got road games at Texas, and Florida obviously still tricky. Like I know Pollock was very high on A&M coming into the year, and he thought they were a playoff team. And it's funny to think about. You back and you watch that Auburn game, and you're like sitting there like, how the hell is Auburn still on this game? They can't convert a 3rd down. They can't move the ball. Arnold just takes sacks left and right, and here they are. It's a 1 possession type game. So it's really nutty to think about them right now. Like what kind of odds could have you gotten right now to have Ole Miss and A&M be the top 2 ranked teams in the SEC? But it's funny as well because you have like that Auburn corollary. You've got the SEC admitted officiating mistake against Auburn that kind of cost them that game, and yet A&M, who benefited from the no holding call and on the final play of the game against Notre Dame, like officiating could really come back and wind up really affecting the structure of the playoff down the road, especially if OU gets Mateer back for that South Carolina game in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, the Mateer part of this changes everything because we might. I mean, if you look at the statistical profile of Oklahoma across the board, I mean, it feels like a franchise team that you create in the video game, and after you've got all your recruits in there, year 5, you're like, we're number 1 in literally every single category because I put the hours in. That's how good Oklahoma is on paper, and getting Mateer back, like maybe they can get through. But that schedule is so brutal that you're right. Like, I'm blown away by Chambliss and Ole Miss, but I don't know if I think they're better than Georgia, right? Like, I'm picking Alabama against Ole Miss if that's the matchup.
Right.
So if you were like giving me your top 5 teams in the SEC,
I'd probably go Alabama 1, Georgia 2, Texas 3.
so Mateer healthy, you would still have.
Yeah. I just worry about Oklahoma and that offense and their inability to run the ball with a running back against anybody good. I don't care what you did against Temple. I don't care what you do against Kent State this week. Like it's basically like one man, like try and stop us. And so far, I mean, it was good enough to beat Michigan with Underwood making his first road start, and it was good enough to beat Auburn with the help that they got. But long term, like I'm not sure. You've got those 5 games to finish the year against ranked teams, and 3 of them on the road. So I don't know. I'm still kind of holding out. And maybe it's just a me problem. Maybe it's kind of been there, done that. Look, last year I was high on Oklahoma, and I kind of got burnt by them. And we've seen a lot of people in the past be high on Oklahoma, and they've gotten off to good starts, and then they faded down the stretch. So maybe is a little bit of that still in my mind, but I still got to wait and see when he comes back and how he is when he comes back to kind of. I'm kind of using the injury as a little bit of a way to kind of, okay, that's my crutch to kind of default them down a little bit right now.
Yeah, look, I don't know that it's just a tough group to be definitive about because it feels like those 5 teams at the top, and I'm not even including LSU in that group anymore.
That's what I was just going to say too. Like after week 1, I was like, look, I was not high on Clemson coming into the year, but to go there and win and we are like, okay, yeah, that's a good end. Just to see what they did against Florida with the 1 offensive touchdown, and then just a complete no-show on offense last week. They might not be very good. They do not look like they have a functional offensive line. They do not look like they have a running game, certainly with the injury there. Nussmeier's confidence looks shook. It kind of feels like they're the vibe that maybe Brian Kelly is letting off, like in the press conference, but don't ask me about the offense. Like it feels that might be seeping into the offense and the players a little bit. So it would not surprise me at all to see LSU kind of, I don't want to say folded up down the stretch, but I think there's certainly at least 3 more losses on the schedule for them. And that would have been something completely opposite because I had them after that game. Like, I got to put LSU number 1 right now. That's a great win. They looked, Texas very easily could have won in Columbus. They really controlled that game at Clemson. Defense was fantastic. But right now, as good as that defense is playing, their offense is going to have to do something at some point.
Yeah, good time for them to get the week off. I'd be surprised if it were just a disastrous, like, close to the season. They've got South Carolina. They're at Vandy, who, is legitimately good. Yeah, but who knows? That might be one of those spots where now that Vandy's been good for a year and a half, it's like you have to be a little bit more up for it. Where I think Bama going in there last year was probably just assuming they're going to put 40 on them, and then the next thing you know, they couldn't figure out the mesh point for 3 hours, and dudes are yelling at each.
Yeah, we just put 40 on the board, beat Georgia. Surely we're going to go to Vandy and win easily now.
Yeah, yeah. Would you? So we don't have Ole Miss and Bama this year. Thank you, college expansion. We will not have a locked-in LSU Bama game every year, too, which is going to end my streak, although the streak kind of got interrupted there with COVID and some Hartford flight options once.
Join the club.
Give me somebody then that you think is just not a title contender then, maybe that is talked about as one or is ranked there.
Penn State. I don't think they're a title. I mentioned them earlier. I know Russian. I hate to sound like I'm dumping on them because, I mean, they were the team that I fell in love with college football, rooting for growing up, having a family in the area. Like that was growing up in the Northeast. That was the team that you rooted for and followed. And But again, I think we've seen it that like if these 4-21 against top 10 teams at Penn State, like what leads you to believe that he can beat three potential top 10 teams in a row in a playoff environment with all those games being on a neutral field? Like I just don't see it. Again, it doesn't mean that it's a bad program and they're a bad team. It's just that they're kind of they are what they are. Um, I can't see them winning the title. It was funny because I posed this question in our production meeting the other day. Like if you could bet right now, and then I actually asked Chris Andrews at South Point, an odds maker, like what he would post the price at. If you could bet Ohio State, Oregon, and Miami versus the field, would you? And then I asked the odds maker what the price would be. And he said, well, he goes, wow. He goes, I think the field would be a short favorite, maybe like minus 140 or so. But I ran it by a couple of my guys here, and they like they like the trio. They like Oregon, Ohio State, and Miami. So it's just interesting. It looks like it's wide open, but how many of those like Ole Misses, Alabamas, A&Ms, Texases, Georgias, like do you think like can rip off 3 wins in a row against teams of that caliber? It'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm very guilty of letting Danny Cannell annoy me with social media
Okay.
posts. That's
okay.
okay. He knows.
You're forgiven.
I think I have enough hours in the lab with him. But he bangs the drum. But I always feel like everything that he's doing is just directly leading back. It's like this maze that has one ending every single time. And it's some way to just I am actually impressed that he thinks his voice is so important that the propaganda that he's putting out there is going to get like the committee to think maybe this guy's right and we shouldn't hype up any of the SEC teams. But he'll say like, hey, everything's different now. Everything's different now. Well, why is he pushing everything's different? Well, he's pushing everything that's different because he's hoping that the momentum continues to push away from the SEC being the default best conference. And, with back-to-back national championships, the Big Ten, he's like, look, I'm handing out pamphlets. More people are starting to read them. But he'll say like, hey, it's different. Like, we're not going to have these undefeated powerhouses anymore. Like, this is the college. One, we didn't really have that many undefeated teams.
No.
Okay, so there's that. And now we're asking these teams to play. Well, the scheduling thing is its own topics. But if we just talk math, 12 games, we're asking you to win a conference championship. And then we're asking you to get to this bracket with 12 teams that with this December decision, it feels like this thing's going to expand again based on everything that I'm hearing, which I hate, but whatever. I've done the rant before. We're asking these teams to play a lot of games. So the idea that we're going to, like 16-0, you're right, man. It's probably not happening a lot.
Yeah, 16-0 when you got to face like 6 other teams that are going to be in like the top 12 or 15 or 10. Yeah. They extrapolate that out and do the math. Yeah, not happen. Okay,
so off of the Penn State thing, I think there's a bigger issue, and maybe it's just because I watched LSU not be able to run the football with drop 8 defensive coverage. But it kind of speaks back to the Penn State thing. They should trust Aller more. Maybe they don't. And this is 2 years in a row where they've tried to fix the receiver room through the transfer portal because they didn't have anybody who could get separation. What is it? Last year, 23, it felt really gross. We were like, do any of these receivers ever get open?
Yeah, so they complete one pass to a wide receiver? Was it last year in the quarterfinal and semifinal, I think it was?
Yeah, there's a really gross stat out there. Nothing as gross as the Eagles not completing a pass in the second half in that game against Tampa.
And still won and covered.
And still won, right. But watching Katron Allen get going against Oregon and knowing that Singleton's right there with him, like this unbelievable running back duo that complements each other with their style of play perfectly. And I'm watching Allen get going and be like, hey, when these defenses start to get tired, because this is what happens. I mean, we see it constantly in the NFL where it's like, how is this team moving? Well, they're moving the ball now because everybody's exhausted and they're just going to let it rip. But to have Singleton and Allen combined in that kind of game, in that kind of environment, to say, all right, well, maybe it's them wanting to have Aller have this big moment with everybody watching, but I'm not a big play calling guy. Watching those guys get going and you're thinking, you might have to sacrifice the passing attempt that opens up the field for that 2-yard run that feels like it doesn't mean anything just to get Allen hot, get him 17, 18 touches. Like I have forever when we saw this sport become pass happy and college football's influence travel up, meaning college football to the NFL, I was happy about it because I was like, man, there's so many rushing attempts that just feel like they have no chance, and it's a wasted down at a chance of breaking something open and getting somebody outside. I'm now starting to come back around the other way that there's so much out there for you in the running game and these teams and the quarterback development and the 7-on-7 and all these coaches. It just feels like that has become such a priority that teams, you can run balance numbers for me, but watching the games, it feels like there's so little priority on running the football that I think I'm coming back around. Like Georgia almost winning that game against Alabama being one-dimensional was fucking mind-blowing to me in a weird, like I wasn't really rooting either way, but there was almost an old school version of me rooting for Georgia to pull that off by saying, we're going to line up and you're going to have to deal with this for 3 hours.
And that's what I said almost the exact same thing a couple of weeks back after the Miami-Florida game, where it was like, okay, the score was whatever it was, and Florida was somehow in the game at 13-7.
Right.
And
13-7,
but it was like, okay, we're better than you up front on both sides of the ball. You're not going to be able to move the ball. Go ahead and try. We're going to run it every play. You're going to have to stop it, and you're not going to be able to. It was very reminiscent of a vintage Saban team when they got into a big game, or Kirby's vintage teams, where it was like, we're just better up front than you, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it. And I think that was the bigger concern with Penn State, not the Aller deal. We know what the numbers are, but they couldn't run the ball at all early in the game. And then finally, when they got down 17-3, I think it was Singleton who had that one long run, and it finally opened some things up. But you're right. You look at Miami. That's what makes them so dangerous. They're going to get Lyle back this week, who's their best running back. So they're going to have 3 legit backs. Oregon just owning the line of scrimmage and running the ball.
Notre Dame.
Notre Dame with the Price and Love, the two-headed monster, which that was. By the end of the year, Notre Dame's going to finish 10-2, and they're going to get in the playoff, and they're going to be a bitch when they get into the playoff because the defense will grow up a little bit.
That needs to happen soon here.
Yeah, they're going to get some guys back healthy. Carr is going to have a full year under his belt. They're going to get a home game at 10-2. They'll win that game, and then they are going to be a pain in the ass for one of those top 4 seeds in that in that quarterfinal game.
Yeah, I wonder if, like, with Weisner getting back for Texas, and I don't know the latest on that. I was just checking it here.
Yeah, he's going to be back. He's going to be back
this week.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
The guy we talked to down there was like, "Thank God we're finally getting some guys back this week." So,
well, that sounds pretty good.
I'm assuming that means it's him.
I just wonder if Texas will go, hey, maybe we shouldn't try to make this the art show, once they get into the tougher portion of the schedule and, get back to some of the things that we're talking about here, because that's clearly what Ohio State's doing.
Yeah, well, why put it all on him? And I'm surprised. Like, I don't think they're gonna put it all on Arch. I'm not sure. Like, they're fully, like, I think publicly they're talking about Arch is fine, Arch, but I don't know. I get a vibe, like, in talking to some people down there, that like this is a massive game for him. Like I don't even think they know how this is going to go down there, because you look at Florida's defense, and McClain has grown up as a corner. Their secondary is good. I know their front's got injuries, but they made life very difficult on Carson Beck, knocking down balls and getting pressure against a much better offensive line than what Texas is going to be traveling down there. So, yeah, that is like every ounce of me wants to bet Florida plus the points this weekend, and maybe even nibble a little bit on the money line.
Yeah, it feels like, with Bo Jackson, he had like 18 carries combined, and then he goes into the Washington game, 17 carries for Ohio State. And you're like, all right, I mean, how can we not be paying more attention to a freshman named Bo Jackson? But we'll see. We'll see if that's what happens, because it feels like a lot of teams with expectations just try to pass their way out of trouble. And if you have the guy, great. But a lot of teams, to me, feel like they don't have the guy.
Yeah, and give Ryen and Brian Hartline, who's calling plays for the first time, a ton of credit. They know their defense is that good that Washington could have played 8 quarters and they weren't going to score a touchdown. So I'm sure we'll see this week their offense will look completely different against Minnesota at home, against Illinois, a terrible defense on the road, Wisconsin, a team that might be Luke Fickell's like final game, depending on how they do this week. Like I think there are opportunities where they can get him confident and they can get Jeremiah Smith and Tate and Claire their numbers. But then when push comes to shove, when Penn State comes in, when they go to Michigan, I think you'll be in a situation where it might be a little bit closer to the vest, even though you saw that I think Ryen thought last year again when Michigan came in, they could do that and then shit hit the fan and it went bad and they couldn't dig themselves out of the hole. So maybe at that point in the year they'll finally feel better about where they are and go on the road and open it up and finally break that losing streak. But I'll cut saying a little bit of slack because I think that they win the surest way. Arch first start. You knew Washington could be a dangerous spot. Just don't do stupid shit and you'll win the game. And I think it's probably the way they went out and played it.
We don't text often, but when we do, at least in the fall of 24, we text about Indiana. So once I had dug through the schedule and gone, this is insane. Of the 18 teams in the Big Ten, this is who they're playing. And you always kind of telling yourself a little bit. I think early Deion Sanders stuff is like, well, they beat the national championship runner-up. It's like, yeah, technically they did, but the team was a little different. There was a little push last year. It's like, well, they beat Washington and they just played for a national championship. You'd be like, yeah, and all the guys are gone. Okay.
And their coach gone.
Yeah. So I know what the uniform says. But I really, really got pissed off about the Indiana conversation because of, look, to get invited to this new version of the playoff, I got to see it once. And we didn't see that from them. And Cignetti annoys the shit out of me. All right. That's on the record. However, watching them this year, and there's 3 things that happened. The just demoralizing ass kicking against Illinois, but then to see Illinois come back, respond, Altmaier have just a great, I thought he's been so clean. I just like him. He's not my favorite quarterback, but there's just I know when I'm watching Illinois, it's like, all right, they got a chance today because that guy's back there. And their win against SC, where they were clearly the better team throughout, the 2 fumbles, end zone, the whole thing. Great response by Illinois after being that embarrassed, but also then proving for the Indiana arguments that we're going to have moving forward in the season. Hey, that Illinois win's pretty good. They beat an SC team that was ranked when they played each other. Who knows what ends up happening with SC? When you saw the Iowa line, you're like, at Iowa, 5.5, man, you just knew that was going to be kind of a tough spot. Right. And they respond. Mendoza hits the touchdown. So there's already stuff that I feel better about with them. Even though, I don't know what to make of the bigger matchups for them. I'm probably not going to pick them. And maybe it's as simple as a carryover. But again, it's still a lot of different pieces here. So where are you now on Indiana, where it felt like we were pretty aligned last year?
I think this Indiana team has the potential to be better. I think certainly at quarterback, I think they're better than what they were last year. I think defensively, they look better than they were last year. And I think
I can't believe the D line is already this much better, you know?
Which is amazing. And I think, look, it was kind of like the Bill Snyder method at Kansas State way back when you'd play nobody, you'd build up a record, and all of a sudden people would be like, oh, wow, they're winning games. Maybe I'll go there. And I think what they did last year caused people to come in the portal and wind up giving them a record. It was interesting, though, because I'm looking at their schedule right now, and I looked at Joel Klatt that did his weekly college football playoff deal, and I'd have to go back and double check, but I didn't think I saw Indiana in there. And so
in his top what?
Top 12 for the playoff
wow.
Projected bracket.
Again, Klatt loves the Big Ten. What?
Yeah, he does. And I know he loves Indiana and he's high on Indiana. And I'm looking and I'm like, okay, so you assume they're going to lose at Oregon and they're going to lose at Penn State. So that means they're going to be sitting there 10-2 and not in the playoff. Or do you think they're losing either to Michigan State, UCLA, Maryland, Wisconsin, or Purdue? It's kind of interesting because I think a 10-2 Indiana would probably have a pretty good case unless they lose the beauty pageant name with the Notre Dame or a Texas or a Georgia or another team that might be 10-2. So it's interesting. It looks like 10-2 is kind of what they're going to be, and maybe another interesting conversation here, depending on how the Illini wind up finishing out the year.
Right. So they won't have Ohio State this year, but you're right. They've got Oregon, got the week off. So that'll be in 2 weeks or a week and a half. And then at Penn State. But the rest of it, I mean, Wisconsin's a mess.
UCLA is going to go 0-12.
Michigan State's okay. There's just, we know what we should do is we should come up with some sort of ranking system of just, hey, they're all right, and it has to like start and stuff, because it could be
the entire Big 12. They're all right.
Yeah. I don't know. Texas Tech is more than all right. Let's just give me a little on Texas Tech. So we mentioned the Big 12.
I think people, I mean, you heard about the buying team and NIL and the collective. Like, I think I think people were very surprised nationally at how good they were up front, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I think people kind of thought that they were this air raid team with Morton kind of throwing the ball over the place, and then you saw him get hurt. And I know there were people who were close to the program that kind of were a little bit surprised that Hammond didn't play more, or maybe he didn't even win the job, and they think he could potentially be better. So I think they proved. Look, Utah obviously has a ton of warts on offense, and there were a little bit of warning signs there about what they did against UCLA, and then seeing how bad the Bruins were. They still don't have a deep threat, that game breaker at wide receiver. I think we kind of saw why Dampier was at New Mexico as opposed to a Power 5 team, and
that was a horrifying performance.
It was, and then you hear about Whittingham afterwards that he was probably about 75-80%, and he wasn't on the injury report, but he had an ankle injury, so that was kind of concerning right there. But yeah, but what Texas Tech did going there and just completely shutting them down, getting turnovers, winning without putting up points on every single possession, that in a sense to me was even more impressive than them just going out and winning one of the shootouts. I think that defensive front is pretty real, and they're going to be a tough out in that league. I wasn't sold on them at the start of the year, but looking at the rest of the league, K-State obviously has their problems. Iowa State's undefeated, but that's a really dangerous game for Iowa State this week at Cincinnati, with Sorsby's playing really well. You look at the games that Iowa State's been in. Last week, obviously blew at Arizona, but the Iowa game, even the games against lesser opponents, Arkansas State, they're kind of like 50-50 type games. So they very easily could be 3-2 right now as opposed to 5-0. So that's one that I have circled this week. I mean, Cincinnati is actually a small favorite. So the odds makers are kind of telling you there that you see is the right side.
I like Cincinnati. I've liked watching this year. By the way,
I shouldn't say should have. Very easily could have beaten Nebraska. Underthrow by Sorsby with the pick six kind of changed that game and all effectively ended it. But I think Satterfield's got a pretty good team there this year.
By the way, Texas Tech has named Morton starter in that Houston game. So there's no way Will Hammond's not getting into the game. I'd be shocked. But Morton, after getting knocked around in that Utah game, that was kind of ugly both ways, and then Hammond comes in again. He was a huge recruit. He was a big time guy. So I think a lot of us were wondering how that decision would go. All right, 2 things. I need a winner, and then I'll close with something else. Give us a winner.
I'm going to go Purdue plus 9.5 or 10. I don't know what numbers we're going with. I think there are a couple of 10s out there. It's just a terrible spot for Illinois. Coming off of that win, you got Ohio State next week. Now you're playing Purdue, who's improved under Barry Odom. I think people are going to look at the USC score at Purdue. And now USC won easily there. Then Illinois just beat USC. Of course, they're going to go there and win. Like, a bad spot on the schedule for Illinois, and Purdue is improved. I think Brown is going to be able to move the ball on the Illinois defense. They nearly beat them last year. Illinois was like a massive 20-something point favorite, and the game went to overtime. I'd be surprised if Illinois had an easy time on the road Saturday. And like I said, the other one, I have a feeling I'm going to be holding a Florida ticket come Saturday plus the points.
Purdue, a little sneaky if you haven't been paying attention, because it's very easy to go, I'm not watching Purdue in a game based on recent history. Yeah, no, I don't know.
We're not all watching Purdue?
Because the SC game was like nasty.
Yes.
Considering, and they move the ball. They're -3 in the turnover margin there. And then the other game was why, even though we were sitting here getting excited about Notre Dame and where they may end up, it's like you gave up 30 to Purdue, but maybe the secret in all of this is that Purdue's out there, as Van Pelt used to like to say, doing some things.
Boilermakers hanging in the fight, staying in the fight.
All right. I have to ask you about this. You're kind of college football's double agent, part of the ESPN machine and all the allegations of propaganda.
Yes.
I, as a neutral observer of the world, like to kind of sit back and say, you think this is happening, when in fact, I think this is happening over there, where if College Game Day goes to, if it goes to an SEC game.
ESPN, right?
Right. But then I'll see a big noon kickoff and be like, this is the Big Ten game they picked. Right. And understanding they're not going to go to other games based on some contractual agreements. Having said that, the Fox Sports and College Football on Fox social media page released a few weeks ago their top 10 college football stadiums.
Oh no. Yeah.
Did you see this?
Yes, I saw it, and I responded. I think I actually did a quote tweet and did my top 10 stadiums, and I think I did not have like 4 of the stadiums that they put in there, including like the 2 that they had at the top.
All right, so for the audience, who we will get you caught up here, the top 10 college football stadiums according to Fox Sports. Number 1, Michigan, which no one has ever said, ever.
No, ever, no.
Okay.
It's funny. I've joked with Stu Gotts about this, and he says, thanks for returning your text, by the way. He was kind of upset when I told him I was going on with you, and he's like, yeah, tell Russillo to text me back. So
no.
I've joked with him that the Big House is the quietest 110,000 people you're ever going to.
No one's ever said that. So I knew what was going to happen here, and I was like, what's going on? So then it was Ohio State 2, which is a good time.
I have them.
But what did you have them?
I put them 6.
6th is fine.
It's a pretty. They sunk the field down. They've kind of closed it in. It's pretty cool in there now.
Beaver Stadium 3.
I've got it 2.
Okay. All right. Now we're cooking.
I like
Notre Dame. No one has ever had Notre Dame in the top 5.
No, unranked in my top 10. It's interesting because I haven't been there in a while, but I know they had that like inner shell of the old stadium, just kind of put the wrapping around it. But again, it's not an intimidating place to go play.
They have LSU 5th because they knew they were like, all right, we got to put it right.
That's my number 1. I mean, right. If you don't have LSU like in your top 3, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's even they were like, hey, we got to put LSU. Eventually, we have to put an SEC team in here. They go Bryant-Denny 6, which they actually made a mistake of not putting a different team. I would, honestly, if we're talking stadium experiences in the SEC, and I've been at Bryant-Denny a million times. I have had epic nights there. I have been part of history. Well, not really a part of history. I just was watching it happen in front of me. There were some unbelievable moments, as you know, as we would all be there for it. And then they got really spoiled. But there's plenty of nights where I felt like this place is absolutely great. But I still would go Florida over that. I would go, I think Knoxville is incredible.
That's number 3 for me.
That's number 3 for you. Okay.
Straight up, loud, everybody in orange. The fans are nasty and rabid. Like, that is a bitch to go in there and play.
Okay. All right. 2 educated men just chopping it up here. And I love Athens. I love Athens.
Yeah, I have Sanford Stadium in there at 7. I got Jordan Hare at 5. Like that is an underrated, stinky place.
It is.
I remember a few years ago, like I went back and did like this whole like difference between home winning percentage and winning percentage away from home, and like Auburn had like the biggest difference. So it doesn't mean it's the best home field, no, but they tend to respond there.
No, yeah, you're right. You're talking like the variance between like expected. Auburn's just, I'm forever fascinated by the Auburn college football program.
It's
because it never really makes any sense. And
You-
then it just, I don't know.
I'll
It's
say
hard
I'm
to
going to drop
explain.
Kirk. I'm going to drop Kirk Sampson a text and be like, that should be like the media guide motto next year. Auburn football 2026. It just doesn't make sense.
Where would you have Autzen?
I have Autzen 8. It's right there. It's small. It's loud. It's like in this bowl. Per capita in terms of noise, it's
Per
loud. Like
capita. Yeah.
it's sneaky.
So if you were, I hate even saying this is a Big Ten stadium now.
Yeah.
I just got sad for a second again. So you would have Beaver Stadium 1, and it sounds like you would have Columbus over Autzen, and then Autzen would be your third Big Ten.
Yes.
Okay.
And those are the three Big Ten I have in the top 10. And I got a stadium at 4 that is not on this list.
Okay, what do you got?
And actually, I lied. It is a Big Ten stadium. Washington. Husky Stadium, Seattle.
Stadium, venue, the whole thing. And look, I went there for an Oregon game, but it was such an ass kicking that the place fell flat pretty immediately. And that rivalry is really nasty. Obviously, they have the Washington State stuff there. I've been, and it was when Sark was there. It was awesome, but they got rolled.
Yes,
like that's when Oregon was just killing everybody. Other
like
than
I've been there, and I can remember Miami going there in 2000, and the place literally shaking, just the noise with that overhang, just staying in. That's a tough place, and I give Ohio State major props for going there and winning. And then I got Tiger Memorial Stadium, Clemson 9, Kyle Field 10, just the whole running down the hill deal, and it's just a cool looking place. Again, everybody in orange, atmosphere setting, the post game traditions is great, and then Kyle Field speaks for itself. They don't win very many big games there, but the atmosphere is great.
Atmosphere is special.
Yeah, it's kind of like a grown up Lane Stadium, like we're off to Neverland. That's like the highlight of the game. Here come the Hokies. First down, Vanderbilt. It's like, wow. It's not 1999 anymore.
Hey, look,
Corey Moore and the pit boss, John Engelberger, ain't walking through that door.
I feel like all day on Saturday, I'm just looking at Virginia Tech transfer somewhere else, too. I'm like, man, they had a nice little group over there. It didn't work out.
And they're going to be more.
Yeah. So I had another little follow-up here, and I didn't want to spend this much time on it, but I'm enjoying it too much.
I thought you were going to ask about, like, are you surprised that game day is not going to Florida State Miami this week and chose to go to Alabama Vandy? I thought that was going to be your question when you when you teed me up as to like the dark side.
Are you? Well, let's do it.
I am a little surprised. I'm not shocked. We've seen if I had $1 for every time in the 27 years I was in the show that we were planning on going somewhere and a team lost the week before, or then we pulled an audible and went somewhere else, I wouldn't be working right now. But teams lose. Teams are going to lose. But what I think what it does show though is like they don't care who's got the game. And last week is a better example of it than this week, because last week NBC had the Penn State Oregon game and Kirk and Chris called the game in Athens on ABC. And then this week Kirk and Chris are going to be doing the Miami Florida State game, and they're not going there. They're going to go. You got a 5-0 Vandy and an Alabama team back on the map, but it just goes to show that they don't care about like what their primetime game is, what network it's on. They're going to go for what they think is the best atmosphere, and they obviously just didn't feel that Florida State for a primetime game 8 hours before kickoff, or 10 hours before kickoff, whatever it would be the best atmosphere for the show. Whereas, and you mentioned Big Noon, and you mentioned the tweet, like it's just kind of a little different philosophy. Like I think the Big Noon philosophy is more like it's more of a pregame show for the game that's on at noon, and I get it. I mean, it makes sense for what their programming strategy is, and that's why you don't see our show really deviating from what we've seen so far. It's already been announced that we're going to be in Illinois back for the second time 3 weeks doing the Ohio State game next week.
Yeah, I think because Vandy's at Bama, where if you were like the Vandy stories at Vandy, although game day atmosphere of Vandy, I wouldn't exactly put it up against some of the other programs that we were just talking about. Um, but yeah, I mean, look, I'm not pretending I understood it, but because of the years that I was on the radio side of it, and the exact same thing, we'd be booking flights, and then all of a sudden, I think it was Shoelace, like ran for a touchdown against Notre Dame. It was going to be my first time in South Bend. And I couldn't wait. I think it was even like telling buddies. And then that game happens. The next thing you know, I think I don't know if we ended up in Utah or something, but it was like a complete change. And it had everything to do with the result.
BDL, right. MSP, SLC.
Kind of trying to get out of Eugene back to BDL wasn't my favorite.
Yeah, UG, SLC, ATL, BD. It's 3 flights. That was like the worst possible the decision you could make. It's like, do I take 2 flights and go to Portland and have the death drive after that game, or do I take 3 flights and just completely waste Sunday? Like
done them all.
Yeah. Like I finally opted on, like, you know what? I'm old, I'm tired, whatever. I don't care about getting home. I just don't want to make that drive to Portland in the middle of the night and risk driving off the road. So I towards the end of my tenure, I wound up just sucking it up and doing the 3 flights and just dealing with it.
Hey, you could check out Chris Fallica on Fox Sports again, Big Noon Kickoff, and Bear Bets on FS1. Thanks, man. Enjoy the weekend.
You got it. Absolutely. Let's text more from now on. Missed that.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to text you, but we'll leave it in the show. I think Tallahassee, it's not the stadium, but when they're right and that stadium is going off.
Yes.
I've had some nights where I look around going, okay, look, so many places are special. We're lucky we've been to so many of these places, but I think Tallahassee, it kind of loses on the stadium front and maybe the surrounding area. But when you get in there and it's hot and maybe it's a little rainy or whatever,
and they're good
and they're really good. I've had some nights in there where you look around and you're like, this is pretty special.
It's like you can remember like Andre Wadsworth and Marvin Jones and Peter Bulwer.
Snoop Minnis.
When they're walking off. Like teams were beaten when they walked off the field with their helmets in the air and like the field like interlocked and just that entire line is straight in solidarity with the helmets in the air and the band is kind of playing that Seminole War chant. Like teams were done with the exception maybe like good Miami teams or if they had a good non-conference opponent in there. Like, but the game's over. But there's a little part of me that's a little bummed that they lost to Virginia because it would have been really cool to see 5-0 Miami, 5-0 Florida State, top 10 matchup would have been pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's still going to be a lot of fun. But I hear you on that one. Good talk, man. See you soon.
You want details? Fine. I drive a Ferrari 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
Life advice rr@gmail.com. Kyle, Steve, 3 wide. Let's get into it. We have a couple really good ones here. We have one that's so good, I think it might be fake. So I'm not 100% sure what to do, but we got a follow-up from him, so we'll just go for it. All right, what's up, fellas? Medium-time listener, first-time emailer, 5'10", 160, no maxes to speak of, but I teeter between a 4 and 6-pack. Whoa. Well, how about that?
Sounds awesome, dude. It's great.
Being from New England, do you think definitively, like Kyle, do you know today you will never have a 6-pack? Because I don't know that about you.
I don't know. Modern science, it seems to be like surprising me at every turn. Do
you want one? I don't think you need one. You don't need one.
It seems like people would really notice if it goes away. Whereas now it's just sort of like, yeah, he looks a little different today. But I feel like people would really notice if, early summer, June, pop the shirt off and they're like, dude, what's happening to you? I'm past that. People, my buddy's like, oh, still fat, huh? Cool. But like, somebody like my one like more trim buddy, he had his 3rd kid last summer. And he's getting a little keg himself, and I mean, just brutal. Like,
Snacking.
Sorry, man, I went through that already. So he's not used to the comments. So I don't know.
Snacking a ton, I bet.
Yeah, I'm not going to sour grapes a 6-pack though. That sounds pretty sick. I got to be honest. I got to be
It'd be
honest.
it'd be awesome to have a 6-pack and be the guy who's had 3 kids. And
Who's had to develop a personality for all this time? And then you're like a 6-pack guy?
No, I meant more like, look at this. Still after 3 kids. Like that's their little routine. He says it in front of the wife. They get along so well that, everybody's at the kitchen island bar and they're laughing, having Chardonnays and stuff. Maybe Mick Ultras. Okay. So back to the email.
Yeah.
Well, being from New England, I used to get the Kyrie comps, but I've aged into more of a Jason Terry type. Kyrie, dude, that's pretty like.
You're the best player, basically. You're
always.
I mean, just a filthy, filthy handle and shot creativity and finishing against taller players in a way we've never seen before. Even better than Allen Iverson. Go ahead, look it up. Speaking of basketball, I need some unbiased advice. Here's the situation. For about 6 months, my wife and I found ourselves hooking up with another couple early and often. Yeah, pivot. We're talking about handles. Speaking of, early and often. Both of us guys are straight. The ladies, not so much. Recently, it slowed down and lost its flair, so we cordially broke it off. That's going to be tough, breaking up with 3 people. Well, I guess it's only 2.
Yeah. So you can go back to my regularly scheduled partner.
Yeah. You just go to your wife and be like, you know what? After that, I don't see it with any of us.
Wait, that'd be awkward too, because it's like, hey, you're not feeling this? Is it just me? And if she's like, no, I still love it, and you're like, I'm not really into it anymore, then it becomes a rift between you guys. Like, that's kind of a bold move.
I don't like you now either.
Might just be a loner.
Imagine telling your buddies, like, what'd you do today? Broke up with 3 people. All right. So, real wolf. Okay. So I guess these people are far more mature than 3 of us.
Yeah.
They broke it off. Totally cordial. No problem. About a month into it, I started playing pickup basketball with my new Eskimo bro. Never felt weird, though he's a little quiet and awkward.
During? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, there's like 7
joking.
lines that jump into my head. And I can't believe you slept with a quiet, awkward guy. Like, what? We even played well together. Well, the chemistry, I'd imagine. One night on the court, legit felt like Stockton Malone vibe between us. This has to be fake now. I think it's fake. We didn't lose a game and had quite the unspoken connection. I haven't spoken to him since we broke things off. My wife thinks it would be awkward if I went back there to play. This is what the email's about. I feel like it wouldn't be an issue, so shoot me straight, guys. What do you think? I should add that this spot has the best pickup runs I've found around me, so even more reason to suck it up and keep playing there. He'd sent that a while ago and then sent another request that it was like, hey, the league's starting up soon. So maybe it's not fake, or it's one of the most coordinated fakes ever. Yeah.
Yeah, as you get older, you learn that this type of stuff happens way more than you ever thought it would.
That's true.
Like, it's really not, these things aren't really myths, They're in your own
what's
town,
older for me? It's a normal question. Like, if it was fake, I feel like it would be some absurd question. He's just wondering if he could keep playing pickup. That's a reason. And the follow-up, I think it's real.
Okay, so are we just going to guide this thing and be like, well, dude, if you like the run.
Yeah, clearly you're able to talk about hard things with your wife. Don't make a joke, but like clearly you're allowed. You're not scared of having these weird conversations. You guys have already, done that.
Yeah,
thing. I'm having a hard
like,
time.
You're gonna let me do this, but you won't let me play pickup hoops.
Yeah, I can't wrap my head around what your choices are in the first part of this email, really. So I don't really know where I would go. So I'll lay out here. I think I've talked enough on this one.
This is such a great just look into the minds of like men versus women, though, because like dudes are good at just, hey, we're just not going to talk about it. We're just going to keep doing our thing, and we're not going to talk about it. And honestly, you'll probably be fine. You have good run. You'll probably have fun. But I think our female women out there, like, these things enter their minds more often. It's like, how could you do this? How could you play pickup with somebody who you were in the situation with? Where dudes, I just don't think that way. So I get why she thinks it might be weird, but I think if you're having fun and it doesn't really mind, just suppress that stuff, dude. That's what we're good at.
Yeah, never let it out.
Bottle it up.
A good run is a good run, man. And if this guy's Kyrie into Jason Terry now, like, that's important to him. That's really important to him. I just trying to think like who has the upper hand in this though. I mean, does she have a right to say?
Oh, they're gonna say who's the dom?
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of more questions, but does she have a right to say like, I don't want you playing basketball with that guy?
I don't think
Technically, it's an X.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he's playing like, co-ed volleyball with the girl. I can understand that, but this is,
Yeah, they're both straight, right? So, that probably does matter in this situation. Like, she shouldn't be afraid of you leaving her for your buddy. Oh, he's not really your buddy, but your teammate.
Yeah, I think Kyle just figured it out. What did you just say again?
I said it's not like he's playing, co-ed volleyball with the guy's wife. It's,
Yeah, of all the ways that swinging can go wrong, this is the least wrong.
Dude on dude.
Yeah. Teammate assist to bucket. Pick up hoops. Yeah, I don't know. I think you're fine. I just don't know how. This is like a foreign language to me trying to figure out like what. Yeah, go ahead.
Can I get a reading though?
Whatever you're thinking, buddy. Go ahead. Feels like a Friday.
Is this a foursome or is this just a swap situation?
It seems
like a swap. I think a hard swap.
Okay. Well, because he had said that they're not.
I think there's like some reserving going on.
Yeah,
and then a hard swap.
Adjacent courts.
Everyone's in the same room, kind of thing. Maybe two queens.
Well, yeah.
Beds,
dude, yeah. No, we go over and. I wonder if there's somebody to the group. It's like, do you guys want to like watch Clear and Present Danger and just kind of like
see what happens?
Get a pizza. All right. This one actually, I thought was something I could relate to, but I don't know that I can. I think my thing was actually worse than what the emailer sent us. 6'1", 230, no gym stats, but I'd wax that 100 push-ups. You don't hear wax a lot anymore, but I'd wax that 100 push-ups in 10 minutes guy.
Okay.
Oh, fucking look out.
Hell yeah, brother.
NBA comp would be Matt Harpering when I was in shape. Good shooter with an even better no-looker to a cutter. Specific, and I love it. You can leave names and locations in here because my in-laws are too old to access podcasts and wouldn't be able to hear it, even if they could. They're from Louisville, Kentucky. And every time they come to visit, which is way too often for my taste, 6 to 7 times a year for 4 to 7 days, that's a lot.
It's a timeshare, dude. That's crazy.
Yeah. They throw their trash away in my big outdoor trash bins. I live in Norris, Tennessee, and our town's trash pickup policy is that all trash must
be in bags.
All caps must be in bags in order for them to empty the bins. Today was trash day. When I opened the bin this morning, I saw several fast food bags and cups from my in-laws' daily outings while my wife and I are at work. Great effing way to start the morning. Let me dig through this bin and pick out all your bullshit garbage while I'm already late for work. Anyway, this happens all the time. And I've tried to be nice about it, but today set me off. And instead of blowing up on them, I wanted to come here for some advice. Do I sit them down and explain my concerns the next time they're here? Last week of October, in case you're wondering. Wasn't, but thank you. Do I put signs on the lids of the bins that say no loose trash or trash bags only? Or do I charge it to the game? Because maybe it'll be one of the things I miss about them when they're no longer with us. Thanks for letting me rant. Hope to hear from you. Would love to have you do a live show in Knoxville. Well, we just talked about Knoxville with Fallica there. We did a live one for, it was a Florida-Tennessee game, I believe. But I probably won't be doing another one there, ever. I love the town. Had a great time. Probably never going back. So, I don't know that when your in-laws die, you're going to go, you know what I fucking missed is that day where it's just Sonic greasy wrappers and right in my
dried up tissues from the fucking side compartment of the door.
Yeah, I think there's going to be other
Hank,
stuff
make sure you get all that stuff out when we pull in.
I do think sign guy always loses even when he's right. Signs around the house. I remember there was a grandmother, but it was like my cousin's grandmother. You know that deal, like if there's family that's close, so it's not your grandmother, and if she's not awesome. So as like a non-grandchild, whenever we'd go with the cousins to like visit her, it sucked for us as like the non-natural grandchildren. And there was this grandmother that had a sign, like signs everywhere. As soon as upon entry, this, fucking
Shoes
sink,
off. Yeah.
just signs all over the place. And I really think all of us should avoid that, because even if the signs are right, you're just like, the vibe in here is totally off. I use that word I hate, but no one ever seems to like sign person. So those are the first two things I would start with.
This is like a great use of a sign, though. This
Is
particular, like on your fucking garbage can that only you are really supposed to be throwing stuff in, but
60 font.
Might even go a long way with the sanitation crew if they see that, somebody still didn't listen to you. I mean, people throw dog shit in on garbage day all the time, right? I mean, I don't know, Ceruti, you do have a
happened to
dog,
me
right?
last week. Opened my bin up because, they pick it up middle of the day, ran errands, came back, went to put the bins back behind a little thing, opened it up, throw something in it. Just the freshest, like German Shepherd or something. I mean, it was like almost a person did it.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying people do it all the time.
Yeah.
So whether it's not even just, these people are old, which means there's a chance they're going to forget this thing. Even if you try to nicely say this, there's a chance they totally forget it when they come back. And, Christmas time, there's some bullshit in there again. So that's really the one time I think a sign would actually make sense. And also, like I said, it might go like a little bit with the sanitation guys if they're like, all right, someone's doing this to him. He put a sign on this thing. He decided to get into sign guy territory. He's trying to help us out, and someone's fucking with him. I mean, I might be overthinking this, but I think option A and option B that he said are both good ones, because clearly you're already not psyched about this. And every time they come, you're going to look for something, whether it's a terrible story that your mother-in-law is going to tell you for the 10th time, and then you add the garbage thing into it. So I think the sign in conjunction with a nice little thing, it sounds like he hasn't mentioned anything to them about this garbage stuff. And it's just his tank is almost full with bullshit. Like the amount of times they're coming, the amount of time they're staying. It sounds like
they're coming a lot.
They're coming a lot. They don't sound like hotel people, So I think you can at least get this off your chest, say that in a nice way. And I'd say maybe get a laminate sign or something. Cause I mean,
so you're pro sign.
I'm pro sign on the garbage can. I'm not pro sign, when you walk in the house and one next to the kitchen sink and one in the bathroom. Don't flush anything but toilet paper. Like, how many times do you even need to say that to people?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So don't flush washcloths.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Feminine products.
Dated a girl used to just flush tampons. I'm like, you can't do that.
That's crazy. I mean, I grew up in the house of a
city
plumber,
plumbing,
obviously.
I guess. Yeah, city plumbing. I guess you just kind of, we used to flush grease.
What are those things called? Those giant globs that are in the sewers. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, it has a crazy name.
That are big problems now.
Actually, a hilarious name. I forget the name of it.
Yeah, what?
Let's get research on it.
Let me see if I can find it.
I remember the grease thing. I didn't even know. No one told me that. My parents didn't tell me about the grease thing in the pipes. I mean, it's pretty straightforward now that I think about it. But I remember, 23, and I was in an apartment. I'd cooked something, and then I dumped some grease in a pipe, and there was a guy from like a neighbor.
It's a fatberg, by the way.
What is it?
It's a fatberg. It's a combination of fat and iceberg. It's a fatberg in the
masses of fat, oil, grease, biodegradable, non-biodegradable waste, wet wipes. They just congeal into this a fatberg.
The worst thing you ever have to pull out of a pipe. Yes. It's a great name.
Good work there.
Thanks.
You don't have any signs up, Ceruti, do you?
No, I don't like signs. But I know I get accused of like just saying the obvious thing, but like, can you just tell them? Why can't we just tell them?
That was his option A. He was like, should I A, tell them, B, do it?
I don't get it. Just be like, hey, like they don't take the trash. Could we just, and then if they don't do it, then you can make a deal, like make a scene or whatever, start putting signs up. The first step is just to tell them. It seems pretty straightforward.
I thought this originally was, I don't know. This is traumatic, but there's someone in my family who, if you take out the garbage and then don't have a garbage bag in the garbage bin, and look, your boy's upgraded on the domicile situation since the early years, right? I may have even been guilty of like whatever, like trash can out in the corner. Now, when you can put the trash can away,
right,
just pull out a little
maybe
slider.
in a drawer somewhere. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's when you feel like you're really living. So I'd say the last 3 places I've lived, get a little slider going, and I've noticed that one family member in particular, if I take out the garbage and don't put another liner, aka
Fast enough.
fucking garbage bags,
That boom,
Liner.
banana peel.
liner, I'll then open up the drawer and then I look down and I just see garbage in just an empty bin. And
Indiscriminate garbage too. Not like here's the paper towel I just wiped
Nope.
the counter
Yeah.
with. It's like that's an
Leftover
empty soup
pasta.
can.
Yeah.
yeah, garbage
Splat.
food, smoothie thing with just a little inch left in there.
Yeah.
Boom, whatever. That's going to melt through and all. And I want to go insane. Like you saw that there was no garbage bag in there. And this is a garbage bag place. Like we use them. I have them. Like if
Now,
you
hold
don't
on, Ryan. Are you saying that on your way back from the curb, like you haven't caught it
No.
in time, or you're saying a couple hours have gone by?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, because that would almost feel like the person was doing it on purpose.
Yes. Yes.
So what I've noticed in these exchanges is that, and if it's an older person, let's say,
The grace has to be there.
what I've run into is like a defiant like counterpoint that's
Really?
totally wrong. And so it doesn't really get me anywhere. And that's why I think our emailers hitting us up, like to Ceruti's point, the answer to almost all of this stuff is, why can't you just talk to him? But even when you just try to talk to him and I'll go, hey, are you serious, man? Like there's clearly no garbage bag in there. Can you just hold off, or can you ask me where the garbage bag is? Or the other thing that you learn, like, I don't know, it was late 30s, maybe early 40s for me, putting extra garbage bags at the bottom of the
Yep.
garbage basket,
Promo.
can, whatever you want to call it, so that it always feels like you're at the ready. You know, look, sometimes you go through them and then there's no relief in there. And I just go like,
Gotta replenish.
right, I'll just go, hey, man, like, are you serious? Like, clearly, like, can't you just help me out? And usually the response is like a smirk and, oh, you got a fancy place now.
Clean guy over here.
Yeah.
You don't hose off your bins every week like we used to, right?
Yeah, right. And it's like, oh, well, you know, when you were at the house as a kid, you didn't care about garbage. And it's like, yeah, no shit. I was in my teens and then I moved.
I didn't care about anything.
Yeah. You're lucky it wasn't still in my bedroom. So that's why talking to people sucks sometimes. Because the talker, our emailer, in this case, is 100% in the right. And there's something about people that are 100% wrong. It's almost worse to admit when you're 100% wrong than it's like on the fence. And whatever it is about our human instinct to survive, where it's like, hey, don't throw shit in here. It's like, oh, look at Mr. Belding over here, Mr. Rules. So I don't
This
know.
was
if
a little different though, right? I mean, you know,
It
in
is
the
a
Crown
little
Jewel,
different.
in the Crown Jewel, you can throw anything. You know, they're dumping it. They really don't care. But
Agreed.
you know, and in the city of Poughkeepsie, I think you need to buy special city bags. Like the bags themselves, you have to buy from the city. I think used to be that way at least. So like,
Really?
you know,
Wow.
yeah, like
That's
they won't take the
wild.
garbage unless it's in these special bags. Instead of like it has to be in the special can. It has to be in these like they used to be orange bags or something.
Hefty just corporate meetings being like, we can't crack the Poughkeepsie market.
But I'm just saying, like, there's there's different rules, and this just might be like a total. Hey, I know you would have no way of knowing this, especially because I don't have a sign on the.
That's
can.
why I think it's an easy conversation to have.
Yes.
Like it's because I don't have that rule. I mean, I typically like to put stuff in bags. I don't like them being dirty. I even put my recycling in paper bags and kind of close them off just so it doesn't get messed up.
way
But
to reuse
But then some
that.
places you can't put, if you put your recycling in a garbage bag, they won't recycle it.
no, not a garbage bag, in a paper like Trader Joe's bag.
But if you put your recyclables
Hannaford,
in a
something like that. Nice.
Hannaford, shout out. Ribeye. No, we've got London broil over here. Wait, so can you put your recycling in garbage bags if you
No.
wanted to?
Well, I guess
can't.
theoretically you could, but that defeats the purpose, I feel like, of it.
All right.
It can't be recycled.
The only thing other than an Expedia link, like every time they do it, I mean, you can't get away with it. They're older. They're your in-laws. They're not going to think it's funny to see a hotels.com link next time they come to visit. But you have to be like forceful. That's pretty much it. I think it's just Ceruti's original point. You have to be forceful and go, hey, the other day I picked up all your fast food stuff. I love you guys. I love that you're here every month. It's awesome. It's like roommates, except for paying utilities. I don't know what you can get away with because I don't know the dynamic between the two of you, but nothing else has worked to this point. And you have to probably make it a little uncomfortable by being like straight line, as clear as possible, that it's like, we can't do it. Maybe even tell them you think it's a stupid rule. You may not think
it's their
it is
fault. It's
Hey,
sanitation.
don't pay, right.
They won't
dumb
take this
rule,
garbage. We'll have double garbage for a week if this
Nobody
happens.
wants that.
So,
but that just made me think of this though. This is not a you problem. This is your significant other problem. They need to be the one delivering this message.
well, I think
What if they're swingers?
Nice callback. I think by the tone of the email, he's probably told her a bunch of stuff that she's not relaying to her parents.
Yeah.
By the way, this whole
He's
thing,
emailing us.
just
He's
by
giving
the
up.
frequency of their visits, his like words are not making it through that filter to the parents. But I think you could even take it a step further, where it's like you say these fucks at the garbage company won't take it, and also there's someone in this neighborhood that's dropping stuff, so I'm looking out for him. I just want to let you know. Like you can even just say like someone has been putting some stuff in the bin, and I gotten burned on this. So just want to if we could all pull in the same direction here. It's not even on them. So just make up a the scourge of the community who's dropping their crap.
You're
in
on
your
the same
bins.
team, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Look out for this guy.
That'll do it for us. Good work out of both of you. You can check out the pod on our Spotify app and watch the video, our YouTube page as well. Thanks to Kyle. Thanks to Ceruti. Thanks to Jonathan Frias, Ryen Russillo Podcast, Ringer Spotify.
They were going to name me Michael Jordan. My dad was like, I don't think he can live up to it, so they named me Michael Jared.
Must be 21 and older and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is there. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.